If you could go to a great league that treats you well, that pays you well, that has competitiveness in it, because you're going to have other WNBA players, how will players to make 150K in the WNBA turn down 1.5 million? Right. And I just said, I think she has to be tempted by this with this kind of money.
Caitlin Clark, she is, without exaggeration, a walking, talking billion-dollar stimulus package for a league that has spent decades fighting for relevance. So why would she ever consider leaving? Why would the face of the WNBA, its undisputed savior, even entertain the idea of abandoning it all for a brand new, unproven league halfway across the world? The answer begins not in a boardroom, but on the hardwood where the league's most valuable asset is treated like its most expendable.
Now, people have probably heard a lot about LeBron James and a Saudi Arabian league on the men's side. There's a women's as well, and that the focus right now is on the women's league because of the growth of women's sports. If the new league offers Angel Reese $50 million per year, it might require her to be exclusive to it and not play in the WNBA.
The story of Caitlin Clark's professional career is a paradox. On one hand, she is celebrated as a transcendent talent, the architect of the Caitlin Clark effect that has reignited a phenomenon not seen since Hoosier hysteria. On the other hand, she is the target of a relentless physical assault that often goes unpunished. The footage is undeniable. A shoulder check from Chicago's Chennedy Carter that sent her flying before an inbound pass, a hip check from a player she couldn't even see coming, an endless barrage of grabs, holds, and bumps every time she touches the ball. This isn't just the typical welcome to the league treatment that veterans like to talk about. The aggression directed at Clark has been so consistent and so overt that it has sparked a league-wide debate about whether opponents are simply playing hard or actively trying to injure the one player responsible for their newfound fame and fortune. This constant physical battery is more than just a series of isolated incidents. It's a powerful visual metaphor for a much larger, more insidious problem within the WNBA. The league's apparent failure to protect its biggest star on the court raises a critical question for Clark and her team. If the WNBA cannot or will not protect her physical well-being, how can she possibly trust them to protect her financial future and long-term career? The chaos on the court is a direct reflection of the chaos within the league's front office. The uncalled fouls and the brutal physicality are symptoms of an institution that seems fundamentally unprepared for the golden goose that has landed in its lap. And when an organization fails to protect its most valuable asset, it creates a power vacuum, an opportunity for a rival to step in and offer what the incumbent cannot: safety, respect, and a paycheck that actually reflects her worth. This is the crack in the foundation of the WNBA, and it is through this crack that a new global power is preparing to enter the game. To truly understand the pressure cooker Caitlin Clark finds herself in, you have to follow the money, or more accurately, the shocking lack of it flowing in her direction from her primary employer. As the #1 pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, Clark signed a standard 4-year rookie contract that will pay her a grand total of $338,056. Her salary for her first season was a mere $76,535. In the world of professional sports, where contracts are measured in the tens and hundreds of millions, this number is almost laughably small. It becomes even more absurd when you place it next to the value she actually generates. While her WNBA salary is a pittance, Clark's off-court earnings are astronomical. She entered the league with an estimated $3.1 million in existing name, image, and likeness deals from college. She then signed a landmark 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike, which pays her $3.5 million annually and includes her own signature shoe collection. Add to that multi-year endorsement deals with major brands like Wilson, State Farm, and Gatorade, and her total earnings for 2024 were estimated to be over $11 million. She is by any measure one of the highest-paid female athletes on the planet, a financial powerhouse whose league salary accounts for less than 1% of her annual income. This staggering disparity highlights the core of the problem. Clark is generating Super Bowl-level interest for the WNBA, and in return, she is being paid an intern's wage. The Caitlin Clark effect is not a media narrative, it is a quantifiable economic phenomenon. The 2024 WNBA draft, headlined by her selection, drew an average of 2.45 million viewers, the most in the league's history and the most-watched WNBA telecast of any kind since the year 2000. Her regular season debut against the Connecticut Sun was the most-watched WNBA game since 2002. Teams across the league moved their home games against the Fever to larger NBA arenas just to accommodate the demand, setting their own all-time attendance records in the process. Perhaps the most telling statistic of all came when Clark was forced to sit out with an injury. In her absence, national television viewership for WNBA games plummeted by a catastrophic 55%. When Clark plays, the league's viewership averages 1.81 million. Without her, it drops to just 847,000. This isn't correlation, it's causation. She is single-handedly responsible for more than half of the league's national audience. This influence is directly reflected in franchise valuations. A report from Sportico revealed that the Indiana Fever's valuation exploded by 273% year-over-year, the largest jump in the league on the back of her arrival. The team led the league with $33.8 million in revenue, a number expected to grow by another 30% in her second season. The issue is not simply that Clark is underpaid. The problem is that the WNBA's rigid, outdated rookie salary scale is fundamentally broken. It was designed for a league of parity, not for a transcendent superstar capable of warping the entire economic landscape of the sport. The system provides no mechanism to reward a player who is single-handedly lifting every team's financial fortunes. The league and its owners are capturing virtually all of the upside from the Clark effect, while her compensation remains fixed at a fraction of her true market value. This is not just a bad deal, it's a systemic failure, an inefficiency in the market so vast that it practically invites a competitor to come in and exploit it. The problems plaguing the WNBA run much deeper than a flawed rookie contract system. The league is in a state of internal turmoil, defined by a bitter and increasingly public battle between the players and the league's leadership. This conflict is the primary push factor, creating an environment where even the biggest stars are forced to look for an exit. At the heart of this dispute is the Collective Bargaining Agreement, or CBA, and one explosive issue: revenue sharing. In a stunning disparity that defies modern professional sports standards, WNBA players receive only an estimated 9% to 10% of the league's total revenue. To put that into perspective, their male counterparts in the NBA, as well as players in the NFL and NHL, have CBAs that guarantee them a nearly 50-50th split of all basketball-related income. This chasm in revenue sharing is the fundamental reason why WNBA salaries remain so low, even as the league's popularity and income are exploding. The current CBA was signed in 2020 before the recent viewership boom and before Caitlin Clark's arrival changed the financial calculus of the entire sport. Recognizing that they were now playing under a deal that drastically undervalued their contributions, the Players Association made the bold move to opt out of the agreement early, forcing a new round of negotiations set against a backdrop of unprecedented growth and tension. The players' frustration has spilled out into the open. During the 2025 All-Star Game, players wore warm-up shirts with a blunt, powerful message: "Pay us what you owe us." Stars have become increasingly vocal in their criticism of the league's front office. Nafisa Collier, a runner-up for the league's MVP award, publicly stated that the league had the worst leadership in the world. The players feel that they are the ones building the league's newfound success, yet they are being denied their fair share of the profits. In response, the league has reportedly pushed back, using the buzzword sustainability as a justification for not meeting the players' demands. The argument is that the league is still financially fragile and cannot afford massive salary increases without jeopardizing its long-term health. This narrative of financial fragility, however, is directly contradicted by independent analysis. Recent reports from both Forbes and Sportico have revealed an astonishing surge in franchise values. The average WNBA team is now valued at over $269 million, a mind-boggling 180% to 183% increase in just 1 year. Teams that were sold for pocket change just a few years ago are now valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. The Las Vegas Aces, for example, were sold for just $2 million in 2021 and are now valued at $310 million. This isn't just a difference of opinion, it's a fundamental contradiction of facts. The team owners are realizing massive paper gains on their assets, becoming wealthier by the minute, while simultaneously telling the players, the labor force generating this explosion in value, that the business cannot sustain higher wages. This perceived hypocrisy has shattered the trust between the players and the league. It creates the impression of a bad faith negotiation, where the owners are hiding the true financial health of the business to suppress player salaries. In this environment of distrust and dysfunction, the idea of a work stoppage or a player exodus doesn't just seem possible, it seems like a logical, almost inevitable outcome. Before a new global threat emerged on the horizon, the WNBA was already facing a rebellion from within. This rebellion has a name: Unrivaled. Launched in January 2025, this new 3-on-3 professional league was not created by outside investors looking to disrupt the market. It was founded by two of the WNBA's own superstars, Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Their goal was simple: to create a high-paying domestic alternative for players during the WNBA offseason, eliminating the need for them to travel to far-flung, often less than ideal, overseas leagues to supplement their incomes. Unrivaled was more than just a new league. It was a warning shot, a clear signal to the WNBA that its players were willing and able to build their own ecosystem if the primary one continued to fail them. The structure of Unrivaled is a direct rebuke to the WNBA's player-unfriendly model. It is a league built by players for players. All 36 of its inaugural athletes were given equity ownership, making them partners in the business, not just employees. The league boasts the highest average salaries in women's professional sports history, with a total salary pool of over $8 million, and nearly every player earning a six-figure salary for a season that lasts just a few months. The league immediately secured a multi-year media rights deal with TNT Sports, giving it instant legitimacy and a national platform. Its rosters are filled with a who's who of women's basketball, including stars like Sabrina Ionescu, Brittany Griner, and Skylar Diggins-Smith. Unrivaled success serves as a powerful proof of concept. It demonstrates that the players themselves hold the real power in the sport. They proved that they could attract more than $35 million in investment from a diverse group of backers, including coaching legends like Dawn Staley and Gino Auriemma, and tennis superstar Coco Gauff. They proved they could secure major corporate partnerships with brands like State Farm, Under Armour, and Miller Lite. Most importantly, Unrivaled shattered the WNBA's psychological monopoly on elite women's basketball in the United States. For decades, the WNBA was the only game in town, the only legitimate path for top female players to earn a living playing professionally on home soil. Unrivaled changed that overnight. The existence of this player-owned league has fundamentally altered the power dynamics of the sport. It has normalized the idea of top-tier talent participating in, and having an ownership stake in, a competing entity. While Caitlin Clark herself reportedly turned down an offer to play in Unrivaled's first season, the league's very existence is the crucial point. It has created a vital precedent. If WNBA players can successfully launch and operate a domestic league that attracts major media partners and corporate sponsors, the leap to joining a massively funded international league becomes far less radical. Unrivaled was the first crack in the dam. It showed the world that the players were ready to take control of their own destiny, and in doing so, it paved the way for a much larger, much more powerful force to enter the fray. While the WNBA was distracted by its internal conflicts and the rise of a domestic competitor, a far greater threat was quietly assembling on the global stage. This new venture, known publicly only by its codename, Project B, is not another upstart league fighting for scraps. It is a concrete, strategically designed, and lavishly funded global entity poised to completely rewrite the rules of professional women's basketball. If Unrivaled was a warning shot, Project B is a declaration of war, and it is armed with a financial arsenal that the WNBA simply cannot match. The architects of Project B are not traditional sports executives. They are titans of the tech world, individuals who built their careers and fortunes on disrupting established industries. The league is spearheaded by Grady Burnett, a former high-level executive at Facebook, and Jeff Prentice, the co-founder of Skype. Their involvement signals a Silicon Valley approach to the business of sports. Identify a market inefficiency, in this case, undervalued elite athletic talent, and flood it with capital to capture the market. and the capital they have assembled is staggering. The primary financial backer of Project B is the Public Investment Fund, or PF, of Saudi Arabia, the nation's sovereign wealth fund, which controls trillions of dollars in assets. Joining the PF is a powerful coalition of investors that includes tennis legend Novak Djokovic, WNBA icon and current television analyst Candace Parker, and NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Steve Young. This is not a speculative venture. It is a global power play backed by some of the deepest pockets and most influential names in sports and finance. The structure of Project P is as ambitious as its list of investors. It is designed as a truly global league, with its headquarters based in Singapore, a clear signal that its focus extends far beyond the US market. The inaugural season, planned for a fall 2026 launch, will feature 6 teams of 11 players each, competing in a series of 7 two-week tournaments held in major cities across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. This traveling circus model, similar to Formula One, is designed to maximize global exposure and tap into new fan bases that the WNBA has largely ignored. The league's schedule is another stroke of strategic genius. By running from the fall through April, it avoids a direct head-to-head conflict with the WNBA's summer season, but it creates a year-round playing dilemma for athletes, forcing them to choose between a grueling, non-stop schedule or dedicating themselves to one league over the other. Project P's entire model seems precision-engineered to exploit every one of the WNBA's weaknesses. Is the WNBA criticized for its low pay and abysmal revenue sharing? Project P is offering a solution. In his own words, co-founder Grady Burnett has promised that the new league will be paying multiples higher than is available right now in the world of women's sports, and will offer the highest salaries and equity packages in women's team sports. Does the WNBA force many of its players into a grueling and often low-paying offseason in second-tier overseas leagues? Project P offers a glamorous, high-paying global tournament circuit as a direct replacement. Is the WNBA seen as a stagnant, US-centric league? Project P is a dynamic, international entity from day one. This is not a series of coincidences. It is a calculated, strategic assault on an incumbent league's most vulnerable points. And the most chilling part for the WNBA is that the plan is already in motion. Burnett has confirmed that Project P has already signed WNBA players to contracts, proving that the exodus has already begun. The financial and structural arguments for a player like Caitlin Clark to consider an alternative to the WNBA are overwhelming. But to fully grasp the emotional component of this high-stakes decision, we must return to the court, to the relentless physical abuse that has defined her professional career. This is not just about hard fouls and competitive fire. A growing body of evidence suggests that the aggression directed at Clark has crossed a line, creating what could be described as a hostile work environment, a situation that provides a powerful non-financial justification for seeking an escape. The numbers are telling. According to one analysis, a stunning 17% of all flagrant fouls called across the entire WNBA have been committed against Caitlin Clark. This is not random. It is a pattern of targeted aggression that has been called out by some of the most respected figures in the game. After one particularly physical game, Las Vegas Aces, head coach Becky Hammon, a legend of the sport, did not mince words. At the end of the day, she said, "There's too much bumping, too much grabbing, too much fouling that's not getting called. And people are tired of getting hit." Clark's own coach, Christy Sides of the Indiana Fever, has been even more direct, stating that she believes some of the fouls against Clark have crossed the line, and that she will continue to send video clips of the plays to the league office until something is done about it. Most alarmingly, Sides has explicitly linked the constant physicality her star player endures to Clark's recurring injury issues, arguing that it forces her to load differently, explode differently, accelerate and decelerate differently. The league's failure to adequately address this pattern of behavior is, in itself, a message. It signals to Clark, and to the rest of the world, that it is either unwilling or incapable of protecting its most important player. This creates a dangerous precedent. In any other profession, an employee who is repeatedly subjected to physical aggression that leads to injury, with management failing to intervene, would have clear grounds for a workplace safety complaint. In the world of professional sports, it becomes a compelling reason to seek a new employer. The narrative of Clark potentially leaving the WNBA is often framed as a simple choice between loyalty and money, but the reality is far more complex. This is also a choice between an environment where she is treated as a target and one that promises to celebrate and protect her as a star. While some, like NBA legend Dwayne Wade, have dismissed the physicality as a normal part of rookie life, the sheer volume and nature of the fouls against Clark suggests something more is at play. The constant aggression, combined with the league's inaction, provides Clark with a powerful justification for breaking her contract and leaving. It allows her to frame the decision not as a greedy cash grab, but as an act of self-preservation. She would not be abandoning the WNBA. She would be escaping a work environment that has proven to be detrimental to her health and career longevity. This shifts the entire dynamic of the debate, transforming a controversial business decision into a sympathetic and understandable choice for her own well-being. The case for Caitlin Clark leaving the WNBA is powerful and multifaceted. She is underpaid, undervalued, and physically targeted in a league rife with internal dysfunction. A new global power has emerged, offering her a king's ransom, an ownership stake, and a platform that promises to treat her like the superstar she is. From a purely business and self-preservation standpoint, the decision seems obvious. But there is one massive legacy-defining complication: the source of the money. Accepting the offer from Project B would mean aligning herself with the government of Saudi Arabia, a decision that would plunge her into the heart of one of the most contentious issues in global sports today: sportswashing. Sportswashing is the practice of a country with a poor human rights record investing billions of dollars into high-profile sports ventures to launder its international reputation and distract from its abuses. The Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund's involvement in Project B is not an isolated event. It is part of a massive coordinated strategy that has already seen the kingdom effectively take over professional golf, with the creation of Live Golf, purchase the English Premier League football club Newcastle United, and bring global superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo to its domestic soccer league. This multi-billion-dollar spending spree is designed to project an image of a modern, forward-thinking nation, an image that stands in stark contrast to the grim reality documented by international human rights organizations. According to reports from groups like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, the reality in Saudi Arabia is one of severe repression. The government systematically suppresses free speech, jailing activists, journalists, and anyone who dares to offer peaceful criticism. The country's legal system discriminates against women, who are still subject to the male guardianship system, requiring permission from a male relative for major life decisions. Migrant workers, who will undoubtedly build the infrastructure for these grand sporting events, are often exploited under the abusive kafala system, which has been linked to forced labor. And the shadow of the 2018 state-sanctioned killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi continues to loom over the kingdom's attempts to rebrand itself. This is the moral crossroads Caitlin Clark would face. Her brand, valued in the tens of millions of dollars, is built on an image of being an inspirational, all-American role model. She is a symbol of empowerment for a generation of young girls. Accepting a paycheck funded by a regime with such a well-documented record of repression would be a monumental and potentially brand-destroying gamble. She would, whether she intended to or not, become a key figure in their sportswashing campaign. The financial gain would be immense, but it would come at the cost of intense public criticism that could alienate a large portion of her fan base and jeopardize her other lucrative endorsement deals with Western brands that may not want to be associated with the controversy. The decision, therefore, is not a simple calculation of one salary versus another. It is a complex equation that weighs guaranteed, life-altering cash against the potential for long-term, irreversible brand annihilation. It is a choice that will define not only her bank account, but her legacy. The question of whether Caitlin Clark will actually pack her bags and leave for a new Saudi-backed league is in many ways the wrong question to ask. The true significance of Project B's offer is not whether she accepts it, but that the offer exists at all. Its mere presence on the world stage has fundamentally and permanently altered the power dynamics in women's professional basketball. The WNBA is no longer the only serious option for the world's best players, and that fact alone has created a seismic shift in the landscape of the sport. The emergence of this powerful global competitor is a direct consequence of the NBA's own failures. The league's broken financial model, its contentious relationship with its players, and its inability to protect its biggest star created a perfect storm, a set of vulnerabilities that a savvy and well-funded rival was destined to exploit. Project B is the manifestation of that exploitation. It is a credible, legitimate alternative that offers everything the WNBA has thus far refused to provide: massive salaries, player equity, and a promise to celebrate its stars rather than subject them to a gauntlet of physical abuse. This new reality has emerged at the most critical possible moment for the WNBA and its players. The two sides are currently locked in a brutal negotiation for a new collective bargaining agreement, a negotiation that will determine the financial future of the league for the next decade. In all previous negotiations, the WNBA held nearly all the leverage. The players' only real weapon was the threat of a strike, a move that would hurt them financially just as much, if not more, than it would hurt the owners. Project B has changed that calculus completely. It has handed the Players Association the ultimate leverage, a nuclear option. For the first time in the league's history, the players can walk away from the bargaining table not just to the picket lines, but to a legitimate higher-paying competitor that is actively and aggressively recruiting them. The threat is no longer simply, "We won't play." The threat is now, "We will go play for your direct competitor, who will pay us more, give us ownership, and we will take the league's biggest star, and all of the television ratings and sponsorship dollars that come with her, with us." This is an existential threat to the WNBA's business model. It forces the league to negotiate not just against its players, but against the very real possibility of a mass exodus of talent that could cripple the league permanently. The owners must now come to the table with a serious good faith offer on revenue sharing and player compensation, or risk watching their skyrocketing franchise valuations evaporate overnight. This brings us to the final thought-provoking question that will define this era of women's basketball. The story is no longer just about one player's decision. It is about the future of an entire league at a crossroads. Will Caitlin Clark be remembered as the superstar who abandoned the WNBA in its moment of greatest opportunity? Or will she be remembered as the player whose unprecedented talent and leverage finally forced the WNBA to save itself?